So I have several more Lana Turner movies to watch, but I wanted to do these two together because they're interesting counterparts to each other in their look at distinct sections and times in the 60s in America. The first one is 1961's Bachelor in Paradise, directed by Jack Arnold. This is a Bob Hope vehicle, but it also features a strong performance from Lana Turner doing comedy, which I wish she did more of, as well as Janice Page and Paula Prentice, Virginia Gray, and Agnes Moorehead. In it, Bob Hope is an author who writes books, slightly dirty books, about the ways of people in various countries. He has not lived in America for 14 years. However, he has to come home when it turns out his business manager hasn't paid his taxes in 14 years and tried to leave the country, and they can't find him. And so he has to write a book real fast to pay the IRS. His publisher has the best idea and rents him a house in Paradise. Paradise Valley, I think. Paradise Cove. There we go. Paradise Cove in the San Fernando Valley. It's a planned community. Anyone who's ever been to the San Fernando Valley knows exactly what these sort of little neighborhood areas look like. This was shot in Woodland Hills. And it's a beautiful slice of early 60s suburban America, pre-Kennedy assassination, pre-hippies, pre-Summer of Love, pre-all of that. And so he's here. He's the only bachelor living in this neighborhood, except Lana Turner, who is a lady bachelor, and has to convince everyone that she is 40 and single on purpose, rather than 40 and single and looking. However, obviously, this is a romantic comedy, so you know she's going to wind up eventually with Bob Hope's character. What you find out as the film progresses is that although Bob Hope writes these books, his character is not really that much of a Lothario. He's kind of a romantic at heart, and he just tries to help all of the women spice their marriages back up, basically. And this film is so beautifully shot. Some of the best looking mid-century shots of like car hops and grocery stores and the interiors, and like one of those blankets with the beautiful satin trim on it. Just great. Shot by Joseph Rutenberg, what else did he shoot? He is Russian. Let's see here. And he shot Mrs. Miniver and Gaslight and Brigadoon and Gigi. Okay, so Butterfield 8, like this man has shot all the best movies. Wow. So, you know it's going to look beautiful. He shot all these movies. It has an Oscar-nominated opening song by Henry Mancini? Henry. Wow, I can't believe I couldn't remember that. And it's just a delightful sort of romantic comedy that's not quite as sex heavy as a lot of these sort of sex comedies would start to be in the 60s. It's still a little on the tame side, and really just full of some wonderful repartee between Hope's character and Turner's character, and some fun shenanigans for all these supporting ladies. And the story was written by the one, the only Vera Caspary. She wrote Laura, with a screenplay by Valentine Davies and Hal Cantor. It is just utterly adorable. I really enjoyed it. It's a beautiful film, so stylish, and an interesting look at this suburban myth, and in almost a Lynchian way, the underpinnings of it, like everything looks perfect, but there's, like one of the husbands gets jealous and then gets drunk and then destroys a bunch of things, and like the women have to help each other babysit because like babysitting is impossible, and that causes marriage to have problems. And so everything looks, like a shiny veneer on the surface, but as the Bob Hope character gets to know everyone, he realizes that things are a little not as okay as they look. And if you, go to 1986 and you have Blue Velvet and you have David Lynch really pulling that back even further, but this was sort of the beginning of that, even though it's still sort of a sweet romantic comedy on its outside. Then you cut to 1969 and Tito Davidson's The Big Cube. Now, I've heard of this film when I used to work at Warner Archive Collection, and I actually thought it was going to be terrible, and it's not great for the first 40 minutes or so while it's setting up the main plot. And then when it becomes a thriller, it is a great cheesy thriller, like a great cheesy thriller. Um, that said, there's a difference between a great thriller and a great cheesy thriller, and you have to like cheese to like this kind of movie. And I don't like it because it's so bad it's good. I just think it's good, but it's good in a cheesy way. That's what I mean by that. So, in it, Lana Turner is a Broadway star who's retiring to marry the love of her life, an investor. He's super rich. He has a mostly grown daughter played by Karen Mossberg, who is very, very Swedish, but in this went to Sweden for boarding school. And she falls for a literal fuckboy, a supposed medical student played by George Chakiris, who's about to get kicked out of med school for cooking up LSD and probably killing somebody. He's up to no good. So he just wants her money, and she is just too naive for her own good. And her dad can see right through this guy and refuses to let them get married. And Lana Turner's character really loves this girl and wants to be an ally for her, but she also sees that she's making this huge mistake. So then when her husband, Lisa's father, dies, and the will gets left, and basically all the money will go to Lisa when she gets married, if Lana Turner's character okays the marriage. And she's like, your father said no to this guy, and he's not good for you. And he's not good because you can already see him like flirting with her friends and all kinds of stuff. So him being this evil guy, he decides to help, or he basically convinces Lisa that Lana Turner's character killed her husband, even though really it was an accident at sea. And then because he convinces her of that, he then convinces her to slowly drive her crazy by spiking her anxiety medicine with LSD, and then planting guilt with subliminal messaging into her and driving her insane, so that they can then have her locked up and get married and get all their money. This plan, sorry, my nose itches. This plan goes off quite well, except not really, because not only is Josh Chakiris' character, Johnny, just a ruthless asshole, he's also not really good at future planning, and didn't pick someone who would roll over easily, and so things fall apart in their marriage, and all kinds of things fall apart, and eventually everything ends up great for the women and not for Johnny. And I really enjoyed that because he was such a jerk that I was like, yes, get your comeuppance. It does, however, paint like counterculture and LSD as completely terrible with no redeeming qualities, and free love and all of that. Like, no redeeming qualities for any of those characters. And that's a little unfortunate because obviously there was some upsides. But then if you've ever read that Joan Didion piece about the little kid on acid, maybe there were no upsides. I don't know. But it definitely was picking up on, I think, the older generation's view of the younger generation. And then when it's this thriller, it's a great thriller. And I really enjoyed those bits of the movie. And Ms. Lana Turner wears her scarves some more, and she looks fabulous in them. So both these films are on DVD from Warner Brothers. They're both available to rent on Amazon, and you can stream them right now on TCM's Watch app. And I just really enjoyed them both. It's great to see Lana Turner in the 60s. I'm sad that I only have a handful of her movies left to watch because she's so fabulous. But keep watching them. There's so many, and she's just always good. Even in these like lesser films, like she's still such a star that she's delightful to watch always. So this was Bachelor in Paradise from 1961 and The Big Cube from 1969.